You're 3 weeks into the month. Rent cleared. Car payment cleared. You've got $183 in checking, and you're at the grocery store self-checkout doing that thing. That mental calculator thing where you're adding, deleting, trying to figure out if you can afford a good coffee or if it's store brand again. Your chest is tight. Not because $183 is nothing, but because one surprise and you're cooked. Now imagine a different version. Same job, same bills, but you've got $20,000 sitting in savings. Suddenly that grocery decision doesn't hurt anymore. The check engine light next week doesn't send you spiraling. You just handle it. No credit card. No panic. No 3-day anxiety episode. That's not motivation. That's mechanics. And here's what nobody tells you. The jump from $0 to $20,000 is one of the most important wealth thresholds you'll ever cross. But there's a catch. Most people hit $20,000 and blow it within 18 months because they skip one critical step that determines whether that money becomes your foundation or just disappears into a nicer version of broke. I'm Mike, and I'm about to show you exactly why $20,000 changes everything. What happened to people who reach it without a plan, and the simple framework that turns that buffer into actual wealth instead of just temporary relief. Quick thing, I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. I'm just sharing education based on research and what works in real life. Talk to a professional about your specific situation. Here's the brutal truth. When you don't have money saved, emergencies cost you extra. The Federal Reserve found that 37% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency with cash. And when you can't pay cash, you pay penalties. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reported banks collected $5.83 billion in overdraft fees in 2023. Billions from people who had the least room for error. This is what I call the zero buffer tax. You don't have $600 for the car repair, so it goes on a credit card at 24% interest. Now, it's not $600. It's $600 plus interest that turns into $730 over the next year. Or you skip the repair, it gets worse. And 3 months later, it's a $1,400 problem. Quick math. Say you hit 4 $400 emergencies a year. Medical copay, car issue, broken appliance, emergency flight. If you're solving each with credit or overdrafts, you're paying an extra 20 to 30% on penalties. That's $320 to $480 a year you're paying just for not having cash available. Every single year. But here's what changes at $20,000. Once you hit around $20,000 in liquid savings, that penalty tax disappears. Not because $20,000 is retirement money, because it's enough to absorb normal life chaos without triggering the fee system. For most Americans, $20,000 covers 4 to 6 months of essential expenses. When the $800 car repair happens, you withdraw from savings, fix the car, rebuild over the next few months. No interest, no fees, no panic decisions. The Brookings Institution found households with 6+ months of savings pay 60 to 70% less in annual fees and interest than those living paycheck to paycheck. But there's a catch. Second shift, your decisions change. Without a buffer, every choice is high stakes. Can't take the lower paying job with better hours. Need income now. Can't negotiate bills. Might get shut off. Can't invest in certification. Need every dollar for survival. With $20,000, suddenly you can take calculated risks. Invest in yourself. Say no to bad situations because you bought yourself time. Third, compound interest can finally work. Vanguard found that someone investing $200 monthly from age 25 to 65 at 7% returns ends up with about $560,000. But that only works if you can sustain those contributions without constantly raiding the account for emergencies. Without a buffer, you're ripping out the tree roots every 6 months. With a buffer, the money actually compounds. Quick math. You hit $20,000 at age 30. Keep $15,000 as emergency fund. Invest $300 monthly. At 7% returns, that's roughly $365,000 by 65. But if you don't have the buffer and have to pause investing 4 times over 35 years for emergencies, missing 6 months each time. You end up with about $310,000. That buffer protects $55,000 in compound growth. Here's where most people mess up. They hit $20,000, finally feel like they can breathe, and their brain, exhausted from years of stress, immediately starts shopping for relief. New car, better apartment, vacation, nicer clothes, eating out more. None of these are individually bad, but together, they create lifestyle lockstep. Your expenses rise in perfect sync with your savings milestone, and within 12 to 18 months you're back in the same stress, just with a nicer car to worry about. This isn't weakness. This is your brain protecting identity after deprivation. You worked hard. You saved. You deserve something. That's real. But the system loves it because every industry is designed to catch you at this exact moment and turn your buffer into new monthly payments. The car dealership pre-approves you based on your savings. The landlord sees you can easily cover deposits. Credit card companies offer limit increases. Your brain sees this as proof you've made it, and suddenly $20,000 feels like permission to upgrade everything. Here's the wild part. I've seen people hit $20,000, feel wealthy for 3 months, then find themselves back at $4,000 with $600 more in monthly obligations. Not from one mistake. From 5 reasonable upgrades that each felt justified in the moment. But there's a catch. There's one framework that prevents this reset trap. If you want $20,000 to actually change your trajectory instead of just giving you 90 days of relief, you need to lock in what I call the 3-layer system before touching a single dollar for lifestyle upgrades. Layer 1, the floor, $10,000 to $15,000. This is untouchable emergency money. Only for true emergencies, job loss, medical crisis, car totaled, forced move. Not emergency sale at Target. Life-disrupting, can't avoid emergencies. Keep this in a high-yield savings account that's deliberately annoying to access. Not at your main bank. Somewhere that takes 2 to 3 days to transfer. You want friction. You want your brain to justify accessing this through multiple steps. Why $10,000 to $15,000? Because that covers 3 to 6 months of bare-bones expenses for most Americans. Rent $1,200, car $350, insurance $200, groceries $400, utilities $150. That about $2,300 monthly. 6 months is $13,800. Round to $15,000 because emergencies cluster. Layer 2, the growth machine, $5,000+. Once Layer 1 is locked, every dollar beyond goes into investment accounts. Roth IRA if you qualify, then taxable brokerage, boring index funds, total market, S&P 500. Nothing fancy, just consistent deposits into accounts that compound for decades. This money works to buy future freedom. This turns into $500,000, $800,000, $1.2 million over 30 to 40 years if you leave it alone and keep feeding it. But there's a catch. This only works if you let it compound. No rating for lifestyle upgrades. No pulling out for crypto schemes. No touching it for a new couch. That's what Layer 1 is for. Layer 1 protects Layer 2 from your present self's reasonable desire for comfort. Fidelity. Found investors making consistent contributions for 10+ years without withdrawals see 40 to 60% higher balances than those contributing the same amount but pausing or withdrawing periodically. It's not timing the market. It's time in the market. Layer 1 buys you that time. Layer 3, the release valve, 5 to 10% monthly. This is where strict budgeters snap. They go monk mode forever, then blow everything on one emotional purchase. You need Layer 3, designated fund money with zero guilt. This is 5 to 10% of monthly income for things you want but don't need. Concert tickets, nice dinner, vacation fund, whatever makes life feel like life instead of a spreadsheet. Key, this money is separate, not from emergency fund, not from investments. Its own category, refreshed monthly, guilt-free. Don't spend it this month. Rolls over or goes into a sinking fund for something bigger. This removes a negotiation. You don't ask, can I afford this? Every time. You already answered when you built the layers. Layer 1 locked. Layer 2 feeding automatically. Layer 3 is your yes money. Now, some of you are thinking, but what about my debt? Shouldn't I pay that off instead of keeping $15,000 in savings? Here's why the answer is almost always no. If you drain your emergency fund to crush debt faster, you remove your shock absorber. Next emergency, and there will be one. You saw with the same debt you just paid off, except now at 24% interest. You just reset the trap. J.P. Morgan Chase Institute found households maintaining liquid savings while paying debt had 50% lower debt reaccumulation rates than those prioritizing debt payoff exclusively. Translation: people who kept a buffer stayed out of debt. People who didn't ended up back in debt within 18 to 24 months. But there's a catch. This doesn't mean ignore debt. Do both in sequence. Step 1. Build $1,000 to $2,000 starter emergency fund. Step 2. Attack debt while protecting starter buffer. Step 3. Once debt is cleared or down to low interest, less than 5%, build full emergency fund to $10,000 to $15,000. Step 4. Start layer 2, investing, while making minimums on remaining low interest debt. This sequence prevents the reset trap. Another objection: I don't make enough to save $20,000. This is rich people advice. I believe you. That's real. If you're on $30,000 barely covering basics, $20,000 feels impossible. But here's the catch. The path doesn't start with $20,000. It starts with $500, then $1,000, then $2,500. Each threshold changes something. At $500, you stop overdrafting. At $1,000, you handle most surprise bills. At $2,500, you have breathing room between jobs. Quick math. Say $100 monthly. That's $1,200 yearly. In 20 months, you've got $2,000. Not $20,000, but enough to break the overdraft cycle. And here's what happens. Once you break the penalty cycle, you leak less to fees, which means more to save, which accelerates the timeline. Federal Reserve found households with even $2,000 to $3,000 in savings experience 70% fewer financial hardships than those with under $500. The first few thousand are disproportionately powerful. Let me say it plainly. Starting from zero on modest income, the goal isn't $20,000 next year. It's $1,000 in 6 to 12 months. Then $2,500. Then keep building. Every threshold matters. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Two people, both 28, both making $50,000 yearly. Person A hits $20,000 after 4 years grinding. They're exhausted. They feel they've earned an upgrade. Lease a nicer car for $150 per month versus $300. Move to better apartment, $1,600 versus $1,200. Eat out more. Within 18 months, back to $8,000 saved with $500 more monthly expenses. Comfortable but stuck. At 38, $35,000 saved, zero invested. At 48, maybe $90,000 total. Living okay, but one bad year breaks them. Person B hits $20,000 same age. Locks the 3-layer system. $15,000 emergency fund stays forever. Remaining $5,000 seeds Roth IRA. Keep saving. Doesn't upgrade car or apartment. Invests $400 monthly starting age 28. By 38, $15,000 emergency fund plus $72,000 invested, 7% returns. By 48, $15,000 plus $220,000 invested. By 58, over $460,000. By 65, over $800,000. Same salary, same $20,000 milestone, but person be locked layers before upgrading lifestyle. That decision at age 28 over 6 to 12 months creates a $700,000 plus difference by retirement. That's not motivation. That's mechanics. Here's what nobody tells you. The exact moment you cross $20,000 is the most dangerous financial moment of your life. Not because you're broke, because you're not broke anymore, and your brain is screaming for relief. You've been disciplined for years. Said no 1,000 times. skipped trips, drove the beater, lived in the okay apartment, watched everyone else upgrade. Now you have proof. $20,000 proof. You're doing something right. That's your brain protecting identity and seeking reward. You want this to feel real right now, and the system loves it. That's when car ads target you. Credit offers arrive. Friends suggest expensive vacations because you can finally afford it. Your brain says, I earned this. I deserve it. You did earn it. You do deserve good things. But there's a catch. If you reward yourself by expanding lifestyle, the same month you hit $20,000, you've traded years of discipline for 12 to 18 months of comfort before resetting to the same stress at higher income. You've turned permanent escape into temporary vacation. The counter move, lock the 3-layer system first. Sit with $20,000 for 90 days. Let your brain adjust to safety. Then and only then, decide what upgrades are worth it using layer 3 money, not layer 1 or 2. Hear me clearly. Sitting on $20,000 without immediately upgrading doesn't make you a martyr. It makes you strategic. You're not denying yourself forever. You're giving your brain time to separate relief-seeking from values-based choices. 90 days. Lock the layers. Wait 90 days. Reassess. Federal Reserve data shows median household net worth for including home equity and retirement. Most people aren't retiring rich. Most are hoping to retire okay, but even okay is out of reach if you don't lock and structure the moment you hit $20,000, because $20,000 is the inflection point where the penalty system stops draining you and compound interest start helping, where chaos stops dictating decisions, and you can plan beyond 30 days where you transition from surviving to building. Blow this moment by expanding lifestyle immediately. You stay in a survival loop forever. Just a higher income with nicer stuff. Locking the layers, you create a platform that actually lifts you. Your 45-year-old self desperately needs you to make the right call at this exact moment. Not in 5 years. Not at $30,000. Right now, at $20,000, the structure you lock determines whether you retire with $80,000 in stress or $600,000 in options. This is in deprivation. This is sequencing. Build the floor, build a growth machine, then expand lifestyle, in that order. So here's your move right now. If you're not at $20,000 yet, your only job is to hit the next threshold. $500, $1,000, $2,500, $5,000 each breaks part of the penalty system. Keep going at or near $20,000 right now. Stop before any lifestyle changes. Lock the 3-layer system. Layer $110,000, $15,000 emergency fund, annoying access. Layer 2, everything beyond into investments. Roth IRA had and brokerage. Layer 3/5, a 10% monthly fund budget set within 90 days. Let your brain adjust. After 90 days, reassess lifestyle upgrades funded by Layer 3, not Layer 1 or 2. Already past $20,000 without structure and feeling stuck. Not too late. Rebuild the layers now. Your buffer might be $25,000 to $30,000 because expenses are high but the framework's same. Lock the floor, feed the growth machine, then expand lifestyle. Comment which phase you're in. Building buffer. Hit 20K. Need structure already invested. I want to see where everyone's at. If this showed you why $20,000 is a real wealth threshold and what to do when you hit it, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you want to know exactly how to structure investment accounts once Layer 2 is ready, watch this video next. I break down exact order to fund Roth IRA versus 401k versus taxable brokerage so you don't leave money on the table. Your future self is counting on you to lock this in. Don't let relief-seeking blow the most important financial decision you'll make in your 20s or 30s.